Hello, and welcome to this training for new interviewers. In this training, you will learn how to conduct the Utah Post-School Outcomes surveys for your LEA, and we want to thank you for participating in this year's survey process. My name is Lavinia Grippentrog, and I will be your State Board of Education contact person for the survey and the Post-School Outcomes survey website. I want to note that the surveys you will be conducting include 24 very important questions about what the student has been doing the year that they've been out of school. The questions are mostly focused on employment and post-secondary education or training, as well as independent living and their connections to other agencies and services. It's very important that you conduct the survey with fidelity to make sure the answers are accurate because we calculate data for your LEA and the state based on the answers to those survey questions. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time with questions throughout the survey process, including if you need surveys reopened. My email and phone number are at the end of this video. Thanks again for your time and effort in conducting the surveys, as this information is very important to your LEA and the state as a whole. We truly appreciate your willingness to participate in this very important survey process.
Indicator 14 Interviewer Training for New Interviewers. Hi, I'm Jenny Jacobs, and I assist your state with the data collection for Indicator 14. All new LEA interviewers must view this training and submit the verification code along with your LEA name to jjacobs@cisa7.org once you have finished the training. If you are an interviewer who is expecting payment outside of your contracted time with your LEA for the surveys that you complete, you must complete a W-9 and direct deposit form. Please mail these forms through the regular U.S. mail to my home address listed on the website or to the CISA-7 office address listed on the paperwork. These forms will only need to be completed once, unless in a future survey window your name has changed or your banking information has changed. So first, let's review the definitions of the data that we are collecting. Higher education is defined as participating in a 2-year community college, a 4-year college or university, or a 2-year technical college. Competitive employment is defined as 90 continuous or cumulative days of work in a setting with other non-disabled persons working 20 hours or more per week at minimum wage or greater. Military participation counts in this category, as does supported employment. Other post-secondary education or training includes a high school equivalency, GED, adult ed, vocational school, or other short-term educational program or apprenticeship, and humanitarian programs, which includes going on a mission. Other employment is employment that was 90 continuous or cumulative days but does not otherwise meet the criteria of competitive employment. One of the important things you will help confirm is that you are interviewing former students who are eligible to participate in the survey. Following the scripted interview will help you determine eligibility to participate. The Post-School Outcome Survey is not a graduation survey. It is an exiter survey. Students can exit school in a number of different ways. This includes graduating with a regular diploma, receiving a certificate of achievement or attendance, reaching the maximum age of eligibility for services, or dropping out. The former students you are calling should have exited during the previous school year, except for the following eligible situations. The student dropped out more than a year ago. Some exiters may have been out more than 1 year, but left during the middle of the previous year. This student is considered to be a mid-year exiter. They weren't contacted during the previous summer's survey, and they are to remain on your list and contacted during the summer's survey. Students who have been out of school for more than 2 years are not eligible. Also, students who participate in an off-site 18 to 21-year-old program, for example, but walked with their class more than a year ago, their last day of participation is determined by their participation in that 18 to 21-year-old program. They need to be out of that program for 1 year before being eligible for the survey. So the do's of the survey completion. Do read through the survey questions and be prepared for a variety of situations. Do have all of your materials ready. Do prepare for a response when the phone is answered by a person or if it goes to voicemail. You will be leaving more messages than you will be spending time actually completing the surveys. Do plan your interview times. Use a variety of times: morning, afternoon, early evening, maybe Saturday morning or afternoon. What we found is in the evenings from 5 to 8 p.m. is often a great time to call. Do take notes and ask questions throughout the survey process to clarify any concerns or unique situations. Do read through the interviewer directions and tip sheet before beginning your surveys. This is located in the interviewer section of the website. The don'ts. Don't share the content of any calls with anyone. The information that you are collecting gets wrapped up with all of the other survey data and cannot be pulled back out. Don't leave survey materials out when it is not being used. The information collected is confidential information. Don't share your username or password with anyone. You are the only one allowed to make the calls as the trained interviewer, and the website keeps track of your work on the surveys. Don't react to survey responses either positively or negatively. When you do that, you could possibly change the response that the person will give for the next question. And then don't struggle if you are having any difficulties conducting the interviews or understanding anything about the survey process. Please ask for assistance when you have questions. So while conducting the interview, interviewing the former students is really the first choice. But if the former student is unavailable, it is permissible to interview a parent, a guardian, or other person who knows what the former student is currently doing. Again, be sure to vary the time of day and days of the week of your calls, and then use the comment section to record any notes or significant information to share with me at the end of your survey. The survey is built on a website as an online survey with the skip patterns built in. The preferred method of survey completion is that you will read the questions from the website and enter the responses directly into the online survey. The website keeps track of when you entered the information. It'll note if you left a voicemail. It'll also note if there was no answer when you made that call. And it timestamps that information with your initials. So if you struggle with internet connectivity, you may record answers onto a paper copy of the survey and enter those responses into the online survey after the survey is completed. If you are using paper copies, please enter the surveys regularly into the website so that your progress can be noted. Some of the people that you will get on the phone will have questions, and they will be concerned because some of these survey questions are very personal. They will not want to give you information on wages and hours worked. Please assure the person that you are talking to that this data is rolled up with other respondents' data and that you don't need exact numbers. If you select don't know or prefer not to answer, the response will not count as competitive employment. It is better to ask a clarifying question to determine if the person is making at least minimum wage, so don't worry about the range, and then ask to confirm that they are working 20 hours or more per week. We need to know if they are working 20 hours or more or less than 20. Again, don't worry about the exact number of hours if they are hesitant to answer this question. The Utah Statewide Resources document is located on the welcome page of the Utah Post-High Survey website. You can fill in any local resources that you have and share this out with exiters and their families when questions come up regarding services. Sometimes you will get questions that are difficult to answer, and this resource document can assist you with answering those questions. If you receive any questions about the survey itself, Lavinia's contact information is located at the end of the survey. She is able to answer any survey questions regarding the legitimacy of the survey. If you have surveys that need to be conducted in Spanish, please utilize your LEA interpreter to interpret the survey as you ask the questions. If this is not feasible, send an email to Jenny Jacobs with the names of the surveys that require a Spanish interpreter, and these will be switched over to the contractors to complete. Just a reminder, though, that only trained interviewers can complete the surveys and enter them into the website. So please practice before entering your first surveys. Your first couple of surveys can be a struggle. Spending time with the practice logins allows you to practice and become comfortable with the survey questions. This way, you won't be stumbling on those first few calls. You will log in with the practice username and password, and will see fictitious names there. You cannot wreck anything while practicing when you've used those Zeta logins. And you can select the other response choices to see how the skip patterns work. Also, please keep a copy of the survey questions with you throughout the entire summer. If someone is calling you back, or if you run into a former student, the paper copy allows you to collect this information accurately. A resource that is available for you to use is an Indicator 14 Padlet. This contains many resources that can assist you with the survey process. All of the survey information and the survey itself is located at www.utahposthighsurvey.org website. We are going to peruse the Utah Post School Outcomes website. There are many things to be aware of that are available to you on the welcome page of the website. First of all, you can learn about the survey. Second, there is the letter that you can send out to your former students to notify them that you will be contacting this summer for the survey. The most recent survey questions are posted on the website as well. There is also the resources for you to use if questions occur from the former student or their families about services available to them now that they're out of school. So I'm currently logged in as Zeta 1. So this is one of the practice logins that I recommend that you choose to do before starting the surveys. One of the first things you should do is click on Edit Contact Information. Here you will find fictitious students. This allows you to play around in the website without actually doing any damage to your own exiters list that's available on the website. So if you click on Edit next to the student name, you will find a bunch of different fields. There should be a phone number entered already in for all of your students. So I'm going to put a phone number in. If you have other calling information that would be valuable to have before the start of the survey window, you could enter it into the calling information box, such as student works third shift, don't call before noon, or need a Spanish interpreter, or talk to the parents because the student will be unable to respond. Those would be different pieces of information to put into the calling information box. If you have other family information or other significant others in that individual's life, you could enter that as well. This will then feed into the survey, making it easier for you to make those calls. Click on Save Student Data, and that information then saves into the website. If you have different buildings within your LEA, you can select the building at the top as well. This makes it easier if you're sharing different buildings within the district. You're calling one building and maybe a different interviewer is calling a different building. So other things to look at is interviewer information on the left-hand links. This gives you the information on how to submit your documents for payment. The trainings are posted here as well, along with the questions, the interviewer directions and tips. I highly recommend that you read through this before starting the surveys, and then the direct deposit form and the W-9 are available as well. Now we're going to practice entering surveys. So I've clicked on the link in the left-hand side for Enter Surveys. Once I do that, I'm going to see the progress that's been made so far in my LEA. So currently it shows that there are 3 closed surveys, 12 open surveys. Of the closed surveys, 3 are successfully completed, 0 are unsuccessful, and 0 are ineligible. By September 30th, this should read 0 open surveys in the LEA. so that all surveys are closed. So I'm going to find a survey that is currently open. So I'm going to pick this one. You should have phone numbers in all of your exiters. Those were transferred along with the student names into the website. So first it says, indicate who responded to the interview questions or check why the interview was not successfully completed. So most often you are going to be clicking this second radio button for I will be filling out this form while conducting the student interview. But I want to show you why you would click no survey attempted due to LEA comments. So when we click on that radio button, we're going to see different reasons that the survey would be unsuccessfully completed. You may have a family who flat out does not want to participate in the survey process. If that happens, you would choose this first radio button. If you have one where you have unresolved language or comprehension barriers, please put that information in the calling instructions because we'd like to find a surveyor that could attempt to contact that family in their language. You may have where a former student has gone to jail. If that is the case, the third radio button would be the correct choice. Often you have no contact because the phone number no longer works. That would be this choice. And then if you have no contact because there's no answer, so then you have a working phone number, but no one answers or the mailbox is full, this would be the appropriate choice. No contact, no answer. Now, there are some reasons that a survey might be ineligible to participate, such as the former student may have been dismissed from special education before the end of the school year and they did not have an IEP in place when they exited your LEA. They may have not yet graduated. They were still in school during this previous school year and have not been out of school for a full year, or they might be coming back this fall, that they were a dropout from the previous school year but re-enrolled for this fall. And then if by chance you had a student that has passed away, you would check the radio button for a deceased. So we're going to go back and change this to I will be filling out this form while conducting the student interview. If by chance you are doing the paper copy and have the paper copy completed, select the first radio button and then enter the survey information there. So the information loads into this page. It states the student's first name, their gender, and their phone number, and if there's any other calling information or contact information for that former student. So then you have the choices of was the phone answered, or after all phone numbers provided and have been tried, it was a disconnected or wrong number. If you select that radio button, that will close the survey out as unsuccessful. You will have no ability to make any more attempts. If there is no answer, you have that radio button selection as well, or voicemail. So it's a good idea to play around with the different options to see what information shows for you to read. And again, I'm in the test site, so it is calling the student and myself. We're doing tester 1 and Zeta test LEA. So we're going to pretend that the phone was answered. And then it tells you what to read in the gray box. Hello, my name is Jenny, and I'm calling from the Zeta test LEA. Recently, you may have received a letter from the Zeta test LEA letting you know that someone would be calling to ask questions about your experiences with continuing education and employment since leaving high school. May I speak with Christopher? Again, make sure that you know whether or not your LEA has sent the letter, because if you have not, then don't read the portion about sending the letter. That will throw people off. So as needed, assure the person answering the phone that you are not trying to sell anything. Refer to the letter they received again, if applicable. So the red information gives you sort of suggestions as you're going through the survey process. So then it asks, who are you speaking with? And your choices are former student, parent, and it gives you different choices on parent, a guardian, or adult service provider, or anyone else. It is okay to accept information from any of these choices as long as they know enough information about what the former student is doing. Ideally, it's best to talk to the former student, but often we are talking to parents to get the information. So I'm going to click on former student. Then you will state, hi, Christopher, I would like to ask you some questions about your experiences since leaving high school. The questions will take less than 10 minutes to answer, and your answers will help schools better plan classes and transition activities for current and future students. And your individual answers will not be shared with anyone. May I ask you these questions now? Hopefully they say yes. If they say no, then it gives you a prompt as to how to hopefully get them to agree to answer questions in a day or two. So you say yes. You will ask if the student attended during the previous school year because we want to make sure that the exiters have been out of school for one full year. So if they have just exited from the current school year, they're not eligible for this year's survey. So then the survey questions begin. So we have the first set of questions are regarding post-secondary education and training. So question number 2 is, since leaving high school, have you participated in any type of college courses, or job training? This can be things like college, adult or community education, a mission or formal humanitarian program, vocational school, job training, or an online course, keeping in mind that military service is considered employment. So that's good for you to remember. Military does not count under education or training, it counts under employment. So then your choices are for the responses, yes, I have or have participated in some type of continuing education or humanitarian program. And it gives you the skip pattern. So if I click on the first one, it's going to close out questions that you don't ask. Your second radio button states, I have participated in continuing education since leaving high school, but discontinued before completing the program. So maybe they started and went for a few weeks, but then dropped out at that point in time. Or you have the option, I have not participated, or don't know or prefer not to answer. So again, if you select the third radio button, you're going to see that the skip pattern drops you down to question 12. So then you ask, what is the main reason you have not attended a post-secondary education or training program? Make sure you read through all of the choices. Often what I find is people select other, but it was really available in one of the other radio buttons. Especially this first one, a person may have not got on to post-secondary ed or training because they're currently working, they don't want to, or they're doing something else first. So again, read through all of the choices before making a selection. So if I go back up, I'm going to assume in this case that yes, the student had participated in some type of continuing education or humanitarian program. So then we ask for some clarifying information. Of the higher ed or training, was it a 2-year college or community college? And there's examples given. And then again, you have the choice of yes, and I completed at least one term, yes, but I did not complete at least one term, or no, I did not attend this program. So if they said, oh, I'm attending a 4-year college or university, you would then select no for question 4, because you do have to have answers selected for all of the different questions available. And they completed one term at a 4-year college. They did not enroll in a technical college. And just know if somebody is attending a program, let's say for welding, you would put welding under technical college because it's like a 2-year program. It's probably not at a community and it's not at a 4-year. You do not need to select multiple options. Really try to clarify so that it is in the correct location that their response belongs. They may have also participated in some other post-secondary education or training. So this could be question 7 asks, have you enrolled in a program to earn your high school completion document or certificate, such as a general education development, GED, taken online courses, or participated in adult basic education? Again, remember, if it's a post-high program that was part of their IEP, then they need to be out of that program a year. That does not count under question 7. So then we have the choice of yes, and I completed at least one term, yes, but I did not complete at least one term, or no, I have not attended this type of program. Question 8 is regarding attending a public or private vocational school or short-term program that is less than 2 years. So actually welding would most likely fall under this. So would a CNA program, truck driving school, barber or cosmetology school. Question 9, have you participated in job training or on the job training or an apprenticeship program like Job Corps, Workforce Investment Act, Job Center, or Workforce Development Program? Again, you have those same choices available. Many of your former students are going to have participated in a church mission. So then again, you would select yes, and I completed at least one term, or yes, I did not, if they did not finish their program. And then we move on to question 11. Have you participated in any other type of post-secondary school or program at any time within the year since leaving high school? So again, select the appropriate response. If there's something that they have said earlier that doesn't seem to fit appropriately, then you definitely would want to select yes, type in the name of the program, and I will review all those answers and recode them as necessary. Then we move on to the questions regarding employment. So question 13 asks, which of these best describes your employment since leaving high school? Count all of the days for all of your jobs that you have had since high school and include days for things like vacations, sick days, and being on your employer's payroll, even if you are not currently working. So if they've had multiple jobs, we want to know if they've added up to at least 3 months or 90 days of employment. So your choices are, I have been employed for at least 3 months, about 90 days total since leaving high school. Or I have worked since leaving high school, but it has been less than 90 days. Or I am not currently employed and I have not worked for pay since leaving high school. Or don't know or prefer not to answer. So if they say they are not currently employed and have not worked, the skip pattern will jump you down to question 19. Again, then you are asking them what is the primary reason you have not worked since leaving high school. Again, read through all of the different options. Sometimes making sure like a homemaker, family obligation, or had a baby, that's sometimes a frequently selected option. We're going to go back up. Again, if they said they worked, but it's been less than 90 days, you're going to gather more information from them on that response. And then lastly, we're going to select the first one, which then jumps you down to question 15, which asks, which of these describes your present or previous job setting or location? Now, for almost all of your responses, it's going to be community. That would be any business or service that anyone else could be working in within your community environment. If the former student has gone into the military, there's your military option. Supported employment would be for those who are having a job coach. Self-employment or working in a family business. This can include being a homemaker or daycare provider, working in a business such as a farm, store, fishing, ranching, or catering service. A lot of our community, that would even include things like being an Uber driver. That can be put into community as well. Institutional or residential setting, that would be often if it's a person working when they're in jail. And then sheltered employment is a setting where most individuals have disabilities. If they say something that you truly don't know which would be the appropriate response, click on other and type the response into the box. And again, I will look at recoding it. So then on average, how many hours do you or did you work per week? Now, this is one of those tricky questions because often people don't want to tell you this information. Assure them that this information is wrapped up. It's not going to be able to be pulled out. And really what you need to know is that are they working more than 20 hours or less than 20 hours if they don't want to give you an exact. So that's our biggest concern is if it's below 20 hours or if it's greater than 20 hours. We don't need to know the exact number. Question 17 is sort of similar. So which of these following best describes your usual hourly wage, including tips? The big divide is we need to know if it's at least current minimum wage or if it's less than current minimum wage. There's not a lot of jobs that are less than current minimum wage. If somebody says they're in the military and that they're making less than current minimum wage, click current minimum wage. Military counts as competitive employment. So it would be the current minimum wage would be the appropriate selection if they won't give you any further information. You don't need to know the exact range because we do have the ranges between, more or between 10 and 15, above 15, or more than current minimum wage, but less than 10. We're really concerned that it's at least minimum wage. Question 18 asks, do you or did you receive benefits from your employer, such as sick leave, paid vacation, health insurance, or retirement? If a person is receiving a payroll check, the answer to question 18 should be yes. If they are receiving a combination of maybe a stipend and room and board, then the answer would be no. Most often, people are receiving at least some benefits, workers' comp, those kinds of things with their payroll check. Then we move on to the questions regarding adult living. Question 20, which of these best describes your current living arrangement? Again, they can just tell you, or you could give them the options, and then they can select one. Most often, they're just going to tell you what they're currently doing. Question 21. Since leaving high school, have you received services or assistance or talked with anyone from any of the following agencies? Now, these are not radio buttons, these are check boxes, so you can select more than one option. So if they've worked with vocational rehabilitation, that's available. The Division of Services for People with Disabilities, Department of Workforce Services, college or university student assistance services, an independent living center, Social Security Administration, Disability Law Center. Again, you have an option of other, and then there's a text box that you can enter the information, or they may say no, or none, that they haven't participated in anything, or they don't know or prefer not to answer. Question 22. What difficulties, if any, have you had being employed or attending post-secondary school as you would like? If they give a response, click on the response provided and make sure that you take out any identifying information. Do not use the student's name. Do not use, like the student's name, Nicholas's mom said, say former student's mom or student reports, because that way there's no identifiable information in any of the reports that are run from the information from the website. Question 23 asks, thinking about things that you are doing now, what is something positive that happened while you were in high school to help you reach your goals? Often, your exiter or their family will report that there's a specific teacher. Again, I'd prefer that you would say a special education teacher or a football coach instead of putting in personally identifiable information. But record the response in that box. And then question 24 asks, are you willing to be contacted again at a later date so we can learn more about how things are going for you or your students since exiting school? So this is for a longitudinal study that the state is doing. So if they say yes, then you have the option of providing a current email address. So please type that accurately into that text box. And then lastly, you read what's in the yellow box. Thank you for participating in this survey. Your answers will help in improving future programs and services for students as they pursue their post-high school interests and goals, as well as services for youth the first few years after high school. If you have any questions about the survey, you can contact Lavinia Grippentag, Transition Specialist at the Utah State Board of Education, and then give her email address and her phone number. So, and then thank you, goodbye. At that point, if the person you are speaking to has any further questions or clarifications, you are welcome to share the resources page or any information that they are seeking. Try not to intermix those kind of questions and responses during the actual survey process. It's much cleaner and you have better fidelity with your survey responses if you stick to the survey questions themselves as you conduct the survey.